Good morning and welcome to the Rewind Show, the Sunday supplement edition number 200. Yeah, we've done 200 of the Rewind shows. Thank you very much, each one of you, for tuning in every single weekend. I'm Steve Brown, and over there in his usual position at the sports bar is Brent Peters. How are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm all right, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. I've only been up about an hour. I usually get up about 6:30, 7, but rushing around a little bit this morning. But yeah, I'm okay.
I could tell when I could tell when I came on off air, but on air, if you know what I mean. Me and you behind the scenes. I thought, mind you, when I walked in changing room yesterday and I looked round the changing room at some of the players, I thought, has he been out? Were he out last night? You know, their hair were a bit ruffled and a bit red-eyed. I thought, I'll not tell you which ones they were, but there were a couple. But anyway, that's another story.
I think it's the seaside, mate. It has that effect on you. I tell you what it was yesterday. It was flipping Baltic, weren't it? Even you had your hat on.
Honestly, I just, listen, there's a certain group of people, I call them empty heads, and I'm not going to mention no names. They're all on their way to the seaside today, you know, for 5 days. And I just think...
Today, what? They're going to
Blackpool today? Honestly, for 5 days in Blackpool. Now, which empty heads do that? I'm not being funny. In January. I'm seriously, I just don't think, I know I'm sat on the show now and I'm talking about empty heads, literally empty heads. If you're jetting off to Spain for 10 days or a week where there's a bit of a sunny climate, but I'm not being funny, they're going to Blackpool, right? It was absolute Baltic, like you said yesterday, Baltic. And there was no wind, were there? It was no wind, it was just really in the atmosphere. It was freezing. Yeah. It was just cold. And it'll be the same. It's going to be the same for the next few days. So why? I mean, most places are shut. In fact, they'll set off.
They must be on an all-inclusive where they can drink as much as they want. They'll be staying at hotel for 5 days.
Listen, they'll end up walking there and being mobile. But when they come out, by the end of the week, they'll be like Madam. There'll be a second Madam Tussauds. They'll be frozen solid. They'll be like blocks. They'll be stood there like blocks because they're frozen to the spot. Absolute empty heads, believe me. They do it every year, but like this time of year, it's thinking absolute nightmare. But listen, it is what it is.
Enjoy yourself in Blackpool,
and just get ready to be stuck on a Madam Tussauds, frozen to the spot.
Anyway, mate, we're going to say a lot to talk about, but there's only really two things we want to touch upon because they're important. Of course, we've got Tuesday's game. We want to chat about that very briefly at the end, but vast majority of this show is about yesterday's performance and the disappointment of coming away empty-handed from AFC Blackpool yesterday.
Well, I think I want to very briefly at the end. I think the Radcliffe game is massively important, and it's important that whatever we talk about on this show, we've got to give it plenty of airtime because technically, no matter how frustrated we might be with our seasons panned out, and I'm not just on about with the lads on the pitch and the results, we've got to remember, and everybody's talking about it in the league, this situation where you're playing games and then you're not playing games, and then you're playing games and you're not playing games. It just happens to everybody. I mean, it's like next Saturday, no fixture again. And it happened last year. You can't get any momentum going. And this isn't reason. Listen, I will break yesterday's game down. I will tell you facts and truth. This is not blaming anything about yesterday's game. I'm just talking about continuity. It's just ridiculous. And it's madness. And there's other teams. I mean, we talked about it on the last show. Ashton Athletic, when they said they hadn't had an home game since back in October. Clubs can't survive. It's ridiculous. There's ongoing things that you still got to pay. How are you generating your income to come in? And you can have your commercial. You can be really blinking aggressive with your commercial arm. But this time of year, commercial arms don't work because it doesn't even work at the highest level. Why do you think Football League clubs start introducing early bird season tickets and things like that? Because they want to get the cash flow going. So what I'm saying is, the season has been frustrating again. not just in the fact that our results have been up and down like they are, but the fact that there's no continuity in games, which doesn't help anybody, both as a player and both as a club, where you're wanting to, you should be home and away and things like that. And we can all pick the bones out of that. I mean, I had a conversation with Brian White going to the game, and I have my opinions on it. I don't think, playing the cup matches, all the cup competitions like they do on a Saturday, because once you've got through the first early rounds of that, if you've got Macron Cup and you've got the Edward Case Cup, obviously the Vase is on a Saturday, and you come up against a team that's still in the cup, then obviously they might not be able to pair you up with anybody. If you're out of the cup, they can't pair you up because you've probably played the other teams that are out of the cup. So you sat there twiddling your thumbs.
Yeah.
So that has some bearing on it as well. It needs looking at. But no matter what the league try and do, they can't appease everybody. I'm sure. But going back to like we talked about the Radcliffe game, that is massive, because not just because we're playing Radcliffe Borough, you've got to remember the winner of this game on Tuesday night. It's a lucrative semi-final that's played at the Lancashire County FA ground. So it's like a final, really. So you've got, if whoever goes through on Tuesday, I've got the fantastic chance that you could really say that both the next two games they play after that are kind of like cup finals.
Yeah. Because
you've got a semi-final in a lucrative like stadium, the county ground. It's a fantastic, pitch, surrounds. It's good, and if the winner of that, goes through, they go through to the University Stadium, which is, what used to be the Reebok in Bolton. So it's a massive game that's coming up, and really it's like a kind of SOS in a way, because it's save our season situation. So I think we've got to give that a bit of time as well at the end. I think it's important. But going back to yesterday's game again. Now, first of all, I think we've got to. The reason why I'm saying I think we've got to strip a lot back, because it's like in any football club, supporters will travel to games, and this isn't having a swipe at any supporters. We're grateful of their support. Don't think this is a swipe at supporters, because it isn't. It's more of a positive. But what I'm saying is, you'll get supporters that travel to a game. So, Baker's playing Blackpool, we'll have a trip to Blackpool and we'll go to Blackpool. Now, for one reason or another, these people might not have been in attendance at our last game, which was last year. It's literally last year, with Darwin between Christmas and New Year. So they haven't been. So they're only going what they read in the free press. They're only going off what they read in the free press, and they're only going off what they've listened to on the comms, if they've listened to the comms. And then they arrive at the game. Excuse me. And when they arrive at the game, everybody in a football club has favourites. And when they arrive at the game, they don't see the favourites playing for one reason or another. They won't know the reasons, because they're not ardent support. When I say ardent supporters, I mean they come when they can come, and we're grateful for that. But what happens is then, you'll get some with, we play second fiddle to Burnley. So if Burnley's at home, they won't come and watch Bake Up. They'll watch Burnley, which I get it. 100% I get it.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to get at, when they do come, why is he not playing? Why is he not playing? I can't understand why he's playing, but I'm here now to tell you why certain people didn't play, and certain people didn't play yesterday. The simple fact is, and it happens in every football club, it's even happening now in Manchester United, there's only Manchester United know why Marcus Rashford, in all the shit shows they're having, is not in that team. Only Manchester United people, or the management and coaches behind the scenes, will know why that's happening. Nobody else is privy to it, and nobody else is coming out and saying. So because nobody else is coming out and saying, the press pick things up and it
becomes a guessing game.
And it becomes a guessing game, correct. So what happens is, and everybody then jumps on that and thinks that's what the press are saying is true, but it might not be true. Now, in terms of, if we switch that over to Bake Up Borough, a similar situation arises at Bakerburn, not because of attitudes, or, well, yeah, partly probably attitudes in some respects, but the point of the matter is, just before the Christmas programme hit, some players had all this lurgy that's going around. We're ill, sick, ended up being flattened, ended up with nothing in them, absolutely being freaking, it's hit them hard, in terms of sickness, right? So they haven't been able to train and they haven't been able to play when we have played. So when we go to the Darwin game, like, for instance, if you notice the Darwin game, I might be right in saying I haven't got the team in front of me, but the Darwin game, if we look at the Darwin game, right, Callum Hewitt was on the bench. Why was Callum Hewitt on the bench? Callum Hewitt was on the bench because he was one of them who'd been hit with this lurgy, and he was honest enough to say that I'm flattened, Brent. It's flattened me, right? So obviously we've brought him into the squad, but he wasn't ready to play. In reality, the next thing is, if you look at the Darwin team, Bradley Hancock never even made the bench.
No,
and never even made the team. Right? Why did Bradley Hancock not make the bench and make the team? Was quite simply the same. He got absolutely floored. Yeah, and he was floored, probably worse than Callum. So he was out of it completely. Not, he couldn't get his second wind. He was struggling, so he was out of it. Then we had a situation that happened at Darwin. Where Michael Gervin, which a lot of people probably don't know and only realised yesterday when he's come on the pitch with a mask on, which obviously did his looks a lot better. Right, so he's come on with a mask, but that's because he broke his cheekbone or fractured his cheekbone against Darwin, and Michael Gervin was told that he hadn't to make any contact for 2 weeks. Right, he hadn't to make any contact, and then after the 2 weeks, if he were playing, he could play, but he had to wear this mask, which is a protection. So consequently, just in them 3 players alone, right, you've got a situation. They've done nothing. They haven't done a tap. Basically, they might have done. Listen, Michael Gervin has probably gone to his gym down in Worsley and done things in the gym. I'm not saying he hasn't, right? But in terms of football and getting your fitness levels back up in football, that ain't happened because of the reasons I've just said. Conor Morris was not involved in the Darwin game, and again because the games, the training sessions leading up to the Darwin game, he never trained. He complained, and if you remember, he came off in the previous game. I think it were Route 1 Rovers with badly bruised or cracked ribs.
Yeah, we haven't seen him since,
and we've not seen him since. So straight away, these players. There's nothing been happening, and then obviously the weather's kicked in, which has restricted certain facilities to how we can train. You couldn't train at the ground, icy conditions all over. So you're reliant upon players going out and doing their own thing where they can in their own gyms. But collectively as a group, we couldn't. It was just impossible.
But there's no ball work taking place. It's all just conditioning work, isn't it?
Correct. So when it comes, so last Saturday, let's take last Saturday. So we had a free fixture. So then I discussed with my coaches, and again, I've got to stress this. It's no good me, back before we got Nigel and Alan and Ryan on board, I would dictate everything. I would be the one that actually booked the training facilities. I would be the one that would dictate what night we were training, and I would be the one that would actually physically take the training. I would do it, right? I would do the coaching and the training, and if I needed assistance, I would just get senior players in to help me, right? if I needed that assistance. And obviously, because Dave Felgate were here, but even when Dave Felgate were here, he wasn't always available at training nights because of his position at Liverpool. So consequently, I would do that. But if I've got now coaches that kind of run that area, it's no good me arranging sessions and booking sessions, right? And then for Nigel to say, I'm not available that night, Brent, I'm down in London. And then for Alan to say, I'm not available that night, Brent, because I've got a parents' evening at school. And then Ryan Russell saying, I'm not available that night, Brent, because I've got to take some private clients and do some fitness work with some private clients. So consequently, there's no point me doing it. I pass it to them and say to them, you've got to sort it out. You've got to deal with it. I'm here to manage it and back you. And the players have to buy into what you're doing and when you're doing it. So they know that they're all available because it's them that will deliver it. So we had a discussion about last Saturday. And because the under-23 game was scheduled for Monday at Gig Lane on a 3G surface, in the discussion, it made common sense that all these players we've just talked about, right, are involved in that game at Gig Lane because it will give them an opportunity to have a ball and then obviously have 90 minutes where they could freaking give it their all in an absolute fantastic stadium like Gig Lane is, and obviously get themselves on the way to being up for selection for Saturday's game against AFC Blackpool.
Yeah.
So that was what we decided to do. So we were going to take everybody. But then when you spoke to Ryan Russell turns around and says, it's all well and good doing that, but I can't get everybody in because the rules don't allow it. Right? So that put a different slant on it at that point.
Yeah.
So at that point, I said, right, well, it's okay then. What we'll do, we'll bring the people along that really need it, i.e. your Callum Hewitts, i.e. your Bradley Hancocks, i.e. your Conor Morrises. They really need it because they've been out of it and they've had a shit blinking Christmas, New Year because they've been in the lurgy. You follow me? And what we'll do with the others, you give them a program to do that they can do themselves, but you can monitor it because it comes back to you, right? So you can monitor it. So they're still training, they're still doing something, and you see it, but they don't need to arrive on Monday night at Gig Lane.
Yeah.
So basically, that's what happened, and that's what we did. But then when we get to Gig Lane, what really absolutely naffed me off, I'm up in the stands, I'm not even involved. I've obviously told Ryan Russell the players I want to be involved in that game, right? Which included the players I've just said. Conor Morris, Toby Wright played in it, Ollie Hodgson played in it, Jack Haywood played in it, Bradley Hancock played in it, right? In the main, Ben Thompson played in it, but the reason Ben Thompson played in it because he wanted to come up from Wrexham and he wanted to have a run out. So I agreed to that as well. So they all played in it. So there were basically 7 first-team squad members playing in that game. The disappointment for me, forget about the scoreline. I'm not interested in scorelines. I'm interested in what I see when they go on take to that pitch. And the only way that you're going to get fit or get your stamina up is by pushing yourself as an individual. If you don't push yourself as an individual, then you might as well not be there because, the disappointment for me is for us to get Conor Morris into that team and for us to get Brad Hancock into that team and Toby Wright into that team and Callum Hewitt into that team, there were some 23 players that's had to be left out. And the disappointment for them will be, they've probably been looking forward to playing at Gig Lane,
exactly,
the chance of playing at Gig Lane for weeks.
Yeah.
And in fact,
that opportunity's been stolen.
That opportunity's been stolen because it's all about the first team. And I had to say to one, because obviously one of the players had obviously seen what Ryan Russell had sent out. And obviously he's then come to me as the manager. And I've had to back Ryan and I've had to back Alan because I've had to say, look, it was Keaton. And I've had to say to Keaton, look, Keaton, I understand your frustration. I understand where you're coming from. But you've got to understand, I've got in the first team, I've had lads that have been ill, and they haven't kicked a ball, and you know, I've got to get them up to speed because the first team players, they're invaluable to us. So I've got to get him up to speed, and they've got to play. And he understood that. He come back, yeah, I get it. I do get it. I understood. It's just frustrating. I get it. It's frustrating. Yeah, I accept that. But what's frustrating for me, when I go to the game and I'm sat there in the stand,
yeah,
and I'm watching what's going on, and I'm being straight here, it was a complete mess and a shit show.
And right? then you're thinking, why do you bother? You should have played the other under 23s straight away.
Exactly, because what should have happened is they shouldn't have gone and played for them under 23s. We should have had a training session. We should have probably brought them to Bake-Up, right, and worked them on the biggest, longest, and run them ragged and worked them on the biggest, longest hill in Bake-Up, and freaking get the stamina up so they'd be blinking absolutely running up this hill or whatever and being sick when they get to the top of it. But at least, you know, if they're doing that, they're absolutely pushing themselves and to the point that they're being sick. Right? That's pushing yourself. I watched the game. I watched it. I couldn't believe what I'm seeing. I'm seeing players just going through the motions. You know, and so really, you know, forget the scoreline. I'm not even going to mention the scoreline. Forget that. I'm not interested in that. I'm looking, is my left back and right back pushing forward, overlapping the blinking wingers to try and get high up the pitch to support, and then run back in? Are they constantly doing that? Because if they're constantly doing that, they're constantly getting the breathing up, they're getting the stamina up, you know, they're working hard, right? If I see that, happy days. Even though they might be having to put the yards in going back that way, but they're up against a tasty winger who's absolutely tearing strips off them. It doesn't matter. I'm not interested in the tasty wingers tearing strips off them. I'm more interested in that they're getting the fitness levels where they should be because they've been ill. When I don't see that happening, how can I justify picking him for the Saturday game when that's only 5 days later? And all they've had to,
you can't, because you've already given him a chance in 23s and he's not taking it.
Correct. And then you look at your midfield, and I see players playing in midfield, and I just see them playing in the comfort zone. Yeah. You know, getting it, looking pretty, but not even bursting it. You know, I could stand there at my age and go, get it, and not even make a run. There were nobody bursting a gut past the main striker or anything. They weren't putting anything in. There was nothing going into the game. And then I'd see another player that's playing with bleedy gloves on, playing with gloves on, strutting about, and he needs fitness. And he's like, I'm thinking, what's going on here? You know, he loses possession at edge of the box for them to score their second goal. And I think, but he's not even doing any doggies. He's not putting any shift in. He's doing nothing. He's not building nothing up. And all these things that have come out of the ground at the end of the game. In fact, I walked off at 4-0. And immediately I've got in my car, I've texted the two coaches and said to them, I need you to speak to me immediately. You've sorted everything out after the game and speak to me. I need a conversation about what's going on out there today and what's being said in the changing room. Right? So, which is what happened. But the moral of the story is, those players could have come in contention for Saturday. But those players didn't do nothing for me to tell me that the fitness levels
and to justify a position
where they should be to play. So straight away, when I've come to pick that squad and I've come to pick the team, I've picked the team. When I've picked it, I've picked the team in a lot of ways. What I know, I'm convinced that they had legs, they had energy. You know, I mean, AFC Blackpool's a tough place to go at the best of times. We're out going with people that's just played 5 days before in a really good surroundings. I mean, it's not like they were playing on. Let's not be disrespectful to anybody here, but it's not like they're playing on like sometimes when you play Nelson, you'll play Nelson at a school in Barrowford. Back of a school. It's not like they're playing at back of a school and think, what am I doing here with 23s and around here? They're playing in a football league stadium. Let's get it right. Yeah. You know, so you think even that would motivate even on its own.
Well, the motivation should be the fact that they're going to be in contention for Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. 100%, mate, 100%. So straight away, so those people what's arrived, so we go back to the Blackpool, so those people arrived on the seaside that haven't been really watching us and, you know, picking Burnley before us, or they've been busy with work or whatever else. That is the reason when they're questioning, why is Michael Gerby not starting? Why is Conor Morris not starting? Why is he not, Callum not starting? Why is Brad not starting? Well, your answer to the question is, that's exactly why they didn't start. Simple. And that's, I can't look through a crystal ball what the end product's going to be on the day. So now that is the reason why they didn't get selected in the starting lineup. And they were told that in the changing room before the team were announced. So we now go into the game. Now, the first thing I've got to say about AFC Blackpool, and I said it last year on this show, I like AFC Blackpool. They took my words out of context last year and didn't like what I said, right? And I won't change anything this year, but I'm trying to praise them.
I think they've got better, Brent.
Yeah, exactly. But what I like about them, they epitomise what the North West Counties League is about. Yeah. If you've got a side that's full of technical ability, and I've said it before on this show, there's people, when you need to get a balance in your team. You need to have the technical players, but they'll open a door and unlock a door, and then you need your physical players that's going to win you. That's going to go in with an hard hat on and win the war and the battle, right? Now we've got a lot of players in this club that are technically very, very good, and if you're in equal playing field, if you went on and the pictures were good and everything else, they'd absolutely destroy you in football because they are technically very, very good. And some of the football that they produce is breathtaking. And you think, blinking out, wow, for a team at this level, that is fantastic to watch, right? And what they're executing. The problem is, right, but Blackpool, on the flip side to that, right, that team that are skillful and technically very, very good ain't going to get you promotion, ain't going to win you a league. What's going to win you the league is really what Blackpool are about.
Correct.
And I'm not being disrespectful when I say this word, but like a bit of brute force and ignorance. Because all that Blackpool did, they got the ball forward as quick as they could. They absolutely chased men down. They didn't. Yeah. They got out of the comfort zone. They blinking railroaded us, overloaded areas, and the finishing was clinical. Absolutely unbelievably clinical.
You've got to applaud it.
So you've got to applaud it. Absolutely applaud it. You know, and the work rate probably the first 15 minutes, 20 minutes, we were in control. I never saw anything coming. It was when they got the penalty that kind of changed the dimensions of the game.
Really, but flipped the game after they got the equaliser.
Yeah, but I'll come to that in a minute. But in terms of how they play, and once they got there, it's kind of like trying to wind something up. You know, once they got wound up and everything, they were wowee. And I'm like, you mesmerised with them because they're running and their work rate and everything and aggression. And this isn't knocking them. This is being positive towards them.
Yeah.
And I say, you know, one thing, and me and Nigel talked about it walking off the pitch, they epitomise what I'm about. Nigel said it to me, he said, I bet they epitomise your team. And I went, 100%. That's how my teams used to be back in the day, before this group came. You know, where they were blinking, work rate were unbelievable, aggression was unbelievable.
Nobody's hiding.
They're freaking battling for each other, and when they get the chances up front, they're clinical. And that's exactly what they were. And it's no wonder that going into that game, that AFC Blackpool were the third in the blinking form table, because and obviously probably after that result,
knocking on the doors of the playoffs now.
And knocking on the door of the playoffs. And believe you me, don't write them off because you know they just showed me what they're about, and I've come off that pitch, and you might have a different persona to what I'm saying now. The supporters might have a different persona to what I'm saying, but I honestly, and on air, didn't think my lads played bad. I'm stood there and I'm thinking, they haven't played bad, my lads, but there comes a time in some games where you've got to like go, hang on, you've got to applaud the blinking opposition.
I think the first, you said it right, I think, and I agree. The first 15, 20 minutes, we were on top. Once Blackpool got the equaliser, they took over proceedings. They were at a different level to us.
They took over for a short time and then we got back in it. But I think they got a leg up and I think they got a bit lucky in certain terms of the goals as well, in my opinion. I mean, look, I'm not here to, when you've just been beat like you've been beat in scoreline-wise, and I'm not going to start knocking a referee, but, you can have your opinions about the referee. I'm telling you, on that penalty, the referee had the whistle at his mouth before any contact was made. He couldn't wait to point. And he did.
It was very quick, wasn't it?
He was 100%. And you've got to be 100% certain to give a penalty. And the laws of the game say you've got to give yourself some thinking time. I'm telling you, that whistle was at his lips. What were going on, because there were loads of bodies in that box at that time. Yeah. We were defending quite well, to be fair. We were defending well. We were getting clear. But immediately, he saw a bit of contact, right? That whistle was blowing and he couldn't wait to point to it. He was rash.
Yeah.
He was rash. Now, for me, when that happened, so they've got in at one apiece. What killed us and what disappointed me, that the second goal came very, very quickly. It didn't give us time to just settle and just think, all right, it's one apiece, we go again. Because we were playing all right. To be fair, we was playing okay. And I still think even at full time, the dynamics of a game, when you break a game down and how the game's going, things change in games, because as a manager at any level of football, you have to, you're not just going to accept it if you're getting beat. You've got to try and find ways of getting back into it. And sometimes they work for you, sometimes they don't work for you. But you've got to at least give it a try. So what happened were, when that second goal, that disappointed me, did the second goal, because it was 1-1 ball. Yeah. But what happened were, I wrote on my notes, it was a mess. And the reason why I say it's a mess, I've got to start at this and break it down. And we can all have our opinions. I think one reason it's a mess, I think, does my goalkeeper need to bomb out like he bombed out? He's a very, very good keeper and he's a young keeper. But I think if my goalkeeper's bombing out like that, like he bombed out, you've got to take everything before you. You've got to win that ball and make sure you win that ball. Now, what he's done, he's gone miles out of his nets,
and he's gone
and he's gone, and he's not even hardly thinking, "Wow, hang on, I can't go in here. If I've mistimed this, I'm walking." Yeah. Right? So he's pulled up. So that was no good. So then he's like kind of slowed down, if you will, as he's going to go and make contact. So my goalkeeper, I've got a question there, because I don't think he should have come. In my opinion, I think you can't. You've got to make split-second decisions, but I don't think he should have come.
I think you've really got to question Brady on that one.
But also, but Brady, and my next thing is on the breakdown, Brady's actually gone back in with his man. He's actually going back in with his man. So I'm not going to, you're questioning Brady, but I have got him wrote down here that he's actually dropping back in. But as he's dropping back in with his man, it seemed like, and I'm not saying this has happened because it all happened so quick, it seemed like Joey stepping out for offside. Right, so we've got a goalkeeper that's coming rushing out, and then we've got Joey that's stepping out for offside, and we've got Brady going back in. Brady's going back in with his man. So that's why I've wrote on here, on my notes, it was messy. I might have got slightly wrong with certain things there, but it happened so quick. But that was kind of what seemed to happen. Goalkeepers come rushing out. Yeah. He's in no man's land. So if that ball runs kindly for him, they're finishing because there's an open net.
But whatever happened, it created a one-on-one. And you can't give Jacob Gregory, as we know, that kind of space.
No. So at that point, I'm kind of like disappointed with that goal. So very quickly, from a 1-0, where we're leading and we're looking like we're controlling the game and playing all right, we've very quickly conceded because they've got a leg up because the penalty whether it were a penalty. I don't think it were. Everybody else didn't think it were. I thought the referee was blinking very quick on giving it, but he's give it. And then very quickly after, we've gone from, instead of just settling down at that and accepting that they've equalised, right, they've very quickly put it on us, and that situation's happened. So it's just like a foot messy. It's blinking messy. So, you know, at this point, we've seen the game out. We've had chances. We still created chances. The game's nip and tuck. It was a good game. We were going and playing our normal football and getting into good areas. And equally, when they ever won the ball back, they just put it back on us. So they were like counteracting us. But they went route one. They didn't play any football through us. You know, they actually physically went route one and then ran.
Yeah.
You know, it was like the Alamo.
The football they did play were down the flanks. You know, Luke Eppel on the left-hand side, he was having a pretty decent game.
He was having a decent game, but he was being defended well. I thought Ben, you know, he weren't doing bad with him. I mean, at the end of the day, you're up against a winger that's a winger. I mean, he didn't leave him; he stayed and did his job. So at half time, you know, we had chances. You break the game down. You look at the goal. I've just said it. The penalty was dubious, and it was Messi with a blinking second and that got in front. So we're losing the game at half time, right? But would you say we played bad at half time? I wouldn't say that. Were we creating chances? Yes, we were. Were we getting high up the pitch? Yes, we were. But we're losing the game. Now, if I've got to start being, before I go into the second half of the game, if I've got to break it down and start being a little bit, where could we improve as a group for a team? I'll break that down. When we had the ball and we were trying to build attacks up, I've got to say that my left back and my right back didn't do enough for me. And in the shape we play, it's important to do this. They didn't do enough for me in going forward and trying to go past, our winger, if you will, which would be asking them questions. When your fullback comes down, you know, you see whoever play the same shape as us, you watch it. You will watch it today on TV. You know, you see what happens. Soon as you know the team in ascendancy have got the ball, the fullback will go and be another option. Now, I don't think my fullbacks did that, and they stayed in the comfort zone of defending. But there's two sides again to a game, and we talk about it in possession and out of possession. In possession, your fullbacks have got to have the bollocks when we've got the ball to try and edge forward to go and support. Now, one of the players in particular, and I'm not here to throw him under a bus or anything, because he's been he's been quality for us since he's come in. He's done a good job, but and again, I have to say this about the coaches. It's up to this is where the coaches have to earn the money, because it's all right me sitting on the show and saying my fullback should be going and supporting and going past the winger or inside forward and being an outlet high up the pitch, because that'll give them another thing to worry about. It's all right me saying that. If that's not happening, that's what the coaches are there for, to tell them you need to be doing that more. You've got to do it. But that isn't getting said, right? The other thing that kind of frustrates me sometimes is I see the same player, when he gets the ball and he's got so much ability, he looks, and he goes back. It freaking winds me up, that. It's like a negative play. Yeah. He goes back all the time to the keeper. And then he'll get it again, he'll show for it, he'll get on the ball, and he looks, and then he'll check back in and go back again. And I think there's always got to be a means to an end, but a means to an end isn't keep going back to your goalkeeper. You're just having loads of touches, but you're not giving us anything. You know, you've got to give us more. So when people stand on the sidelines and say, he's done well, Andy, he's a good lad, and he's a good lad. Yeah, he is a good lad. Yeah, he's done well. He has done well. And yeah, he'll compete against his man. But there's more to a centre-half or a left full-back or a right full-back's game. You know, there's being in your comfort zone and just doing things so you don't make a mistake, or coming out your comfort zone and trying to assist when we've got the ball.
Yeah.
Now, they might argue back because they're not on here. They might argue, yeah, but we couldn't do that. We haven't got a chance to do that because when we tried to do it, we give the ball away. But in all fairness, I didn't see us giving the ball away, because if we were giving the ball away, right, I've seen one player giving the ball away a couple of times, which were one of the midfield players, right, that gave the ball away more than he should have done, right? But I didn't really see us giving the ball away, because I make big bullet points of us giving the ball away and talk about ball retention. I think if I had to be critical sometimes of us, and again, it starts with a goal. Our game, and it always has been, if you go back and strip it all back from the seasons that we've done so well, you know, mainly in the cups, right, and we've done so well, where does our play start? Does our play start from a long ball from the goalkeeper, which then becomes a fighting ball, which we've got to try and win headers, or does it come from where they go high and wide, right, and the two centre halves come out, right, and he tries to get the fullbacks in and start from the back? We've always been more of a threat when we start from the back.
Oh yeah.
Well, I didn't see that either yesterday. I saw every time our keeper had it, and this isn't knocking the keeper, I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
He was kicking it. Yeah. So every time he's kicking it, who's going to win that ball? If Toby doesn't win it, who's winning it? Malachi, because Malachi are in, but Malachi were getting the flick on. But all I'm saying is we're not in control of that ball. It's flying through the air. But
in Billy's defence there, I saw a lack of urgency. There were no urgency. There were nobody really showing for the ball.
Yeah, but that might be right. But they have to show for the ball. But there were times, to be fair, Steve, when there were people showing for the ball, and we were trying to speed him up. You know, listen, if he's not comfortable, or somebody's not comfortable in giving it because he's thinking, if he loses it there, I'm under pressure. I get that as well. But what I'm saying is that's not where our strengths come from over the seasons. No. You think what we're about. You know, we go back to the Congleton game when we drew 0-0 at Congleton, right? I'm not on about the one when we played in the final, the one when we played at Congleton in the Macron Cup in one of the rounds, right? We talked about it on a show.
Yeah, we got beat 1-0, but like you said, we were fought because we were hitting the ball long and not playing our usual game of playing out from the back.
Exactly. So straight away, my point is, and this isn't having a slur on the keeper, my point, what I'm trying to say is, our game with the players that we've got and the stature of our players that we've got is when we get it from the back and we start to build, because the players have all got technically good ability. So they can play into midfield, and the midfield can play it back and the bounce off, and it goes out the other way, and then we start to make play. That's how we're good. That's when we're good, because we give them goals and everything. We're in control. Where we're not so good is when we're having to compete with fighting balls. Well, whether it be a centre half that's launching it down the pitch, or whether it be the goalkeeper that's launching it down the pitch, it's not our game. We're not about that. So you straight away you're killing what our strength is. That's my point. And for me, you know, we've got to get back to that situation, because we're not that kind of a team, right? We're not geared to being that kind of a team. So I don't think so. Again, when we're breaking the play down and where we could have done better, I think where we've got to do better, and you've probably got a point there. Every time they've got to show, they've got to be ready for it, and it's got to be done quickly. Because if it's not done quickly, right, they'll press us and they'll press us in. But you notice at any level of football, the teams that play the shape that we play, they get it from the back and they play out from the back, and then they make the moves from the back. We didn't play out from the back in reality yesterday, because we were most of the time we're competing against fighting balls, but yet we're not a physically demanding fighting team. And I saw that as a little bit of a problem in terms, because we needed to get on the ball to be able to implement our strength, which is our strength is shortening our game up. And then eventually, when we suck them in and the space, what do we do then? We put the ball into the space. This is how Mella got in, because the ball was put into space that they'd left, and we exploited that space, and we got in.
But the ball's got to move. The ball's got to move quick though, Brent, through the thirds, and that wasn't happening. We're allowing Blackpool to get back into position and break our play down.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It weren't happening because we're knocking it long from the back. So before we've got the ball under control, we have to fight for it. If that ball's flying through the air, you're competing. So somebody's going up with an header. So we then got important. We pick the second ball up, and then we start to play. But if we don't pick the second ball up because we're getting beat on the second ball, they're coming back at us.
Yeah.
So my point is, when you've got control at the back with that ball, right? I've trust your teammates, trust them. Shorten the game up, because that's what we're about. You've watched us enough times to know, do we play, are we a long ball fighting team, or are we a short ball getting it from the back and keeping possession? Answer me the question. That's straight away what I'll answer you, where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Answer. You've watched us enough times.
Well, the fact that we are that side who like to play it out from the back was every reason why Blackpool decided to do the high press on us and stop us from doing that. Well,
did they stop us from doing it, or were we delaying it too long? We delayed it too long.
Both, I'd say.
Well,
yeah.
We delayed it too long because we're not being sharp and quick. You can't, you can't start having a board meeting when I'm looking who's on and looking for a better option. Well, if it's on there, give it, and let's start to play. Be positive and bright. Don't dwell and think, oh, well, hang on, there's an option there, but there might be a better option there. And well, no, there isn't a better. And then when you go back there, that option's gone.
Yeah.
So when that option's gone, you've got to kick it long. So what I'm trying to say is, you've watched us enough over the years to know what strength this team is about. And I'm asking the question again, is the team about getting the ball long early from the back to front and winning second balls and then pressing in their final third, right? Or are we a team that builds from the back and plays football from the back? Just answer the question.
Well, the answer's simple. It's the second one, isn't it?
Correct, exactly. But did we do that yesterday? No, we didn't. So that's my point. That's why I'm saying we didn't do it. But you had times to do it. Yeah, you might right when you're looking at, well, they pressed us. Well, they didn't straight away. There were options. We were going mad at technical area. We were looking at each other. Why is he not giving that ball now? So what I'm saying is that I'm saying how we could have improved the game yesterday. All I'm saying is, did I think we played well? I did think we played well. I didn't think we played bad. But I'm trying to tell you now, how do we improve that performance to turn that performance into wins? Right? I'm telling you. So I'm telling you that my fullbacks should be being more expansive when they can and going. Because that'll ask questions. But they didn't. They didn't. Whether we like it or they don't like it, they didn't do that. Right? They didn't do it. They were in the comfort zones. They didn't do it. Then I'll go to midfield. I can't say that any of them players in midfield didn't put a shift in. I honestly believe they did put a shift in and they worked hard. But there were things happening that shouldn't have happened. I'll say, Ben Thompson, for instance, and I say to him all the time. I said it to him at half-time when we played Uxton. Right? I said it to him at half-time. It's all right. You might be nice and tidy, give and goals. But where's this player in midfield? Like, if you look at, you know me, and I like Man United and all that. But where's this player in midfield that, like, when Brian Robson were playing, had the ball at his feet and drove on? Where's this player? Where's this player that when Paul Scholes is in the team again? He'd have the ball at his feet and he'd drive on and then make an absolute defence opening pass.
Yeah.
Where's that player? Because I didn't see that in midfield yesterday. I saw midfield players working hard, yes. Did I see a midfield player yesterday actually physically going beyond our centre forward? Right? As our centre forward, did I see that? I didn't see it. I thought Joe worked hard and worked beyond, right? And tried his best. Nothing about Joel. Joel tried his best and worked hard. Did Tomo try his best? Yes, he tried his best, but he was again in his comfort zone. He didn't try and take the game to them.
Nobody changing a game.
Nobody changing. It was just all in front of them and playing simple and freaking in front. But sometimes in midfield, you've got to have that. You've got to have that presence where you'll unlock a door or try to unlock a door. Now, this is where I have to defend Gervin a little bit. We know that Gervin has his deficiencies sometimes. He can let, if we lose the ball, if we give the ball away and he loses it, he hasn't got a recovery run in him because he's not as quick as the next person he's playing against. He's not. We know that. So the bottom line is, don't give the ball away. Keep hold of the ball. But in his defence, as a technician, he's very, very good because he's positive, because he looks to make forward passes, get people in, unlock a door, release Cal Siddall, release Toby Wright, release Alex Mellor. He's always looking, release. Anybody can do a Ray Wilkins, the crab, and go sideways. Didn't hurt anybody.
Yeah.
He's hurting nobody. Who's he hurting? He's hurting nobody. You get me? You see where I'm coming from? So, I'm trying to make the play. I'm trying to make it better than what it is. Did I think we played bad? No, I don't. But I think we didn't do enough to try and win the game because individuals were just happily doing what they're doing. I don't give the ball away.
Yeah.
Ball retention is very, very good. But have you played a forward pass? In any midfield, that should be your first thought to think process. Forward. Play a forward pass. Don't play a blinking square ball. What's the square ball business? It doesn't, you're playing in front of the team, and that team are just waiting for you to bloody slip up, give a wrong ball, and they're breaking on you. And when
which is what happened because we were just, going through the motions and playing the nice passes here, nice passes there. But while that were happening, Blackpool would score more and more goals.
Correct. That's exactly spot on. That's exactly right. So when I go in at foot, so anyway. So that's where I'm coming from. So, but then we go out for the half time. So at half time, it's 2-1. And at half time, the half time team talk is positive from everybody. We're losing the game, but we know what to do. We know what. That's great. But the issue comes, and how many times has this happened? It happened at Main Road when we went out the cup. I think it was the cup. Yeah, when we went out the cup. When blinking Malachi did that blinking stupid run forward. Right, and then we got caught with our pants down right after half time. Well, we've conceded again right after half time, so the game's bloody kind of gone then.
Yeah,
because we've conceded immediately. We walked back on the pitch, straight away, straight after half time. So, but then you've got to look. Why have we missed that? Why have we missed this situation? Let's break that goal down. For me, one of the midfield players got under the ball and failed to win an header. So that's the difference between it going that way and that way, right? I'm not going to mention his names on here because I'm not here to tip people under a bus. But I've seen it as plain as the day. And from that situation, we've given the ball away. So they broke on us at this point. Right, now there's an issue, right? Our lads have just come out and they're playing offside. And they're adamant that the player are offside. I don't know. I ain't got no monitor in front of me. I ain't got... until we see the VAR, I ain't got nothing.
I think from what I saw, I think the player, they were calling for offside, but the player who made the run through and touched the ball and continued his run, he wasn't offside. Well, listen, Steve. I can only tell you that we missed an header. Highlights because they'll be out at some point today.
Yeah, so I know that we missed an header in the middle of the park, and I know the player that missed it and got under it. Right, I'm not going to mention it on here, but that weren't good enough. Right, the next thing that happened, the break. We were having a discussion on the bench because I didn't really see what were going on in terms, but. There was talk that one of our players got blocked so that they couldn't go and try to defend the player. Do you go what I mean? He was blocked off.
A clever block.
A clever block, so he couldn't get there. At this point, there's a debate. So there must have been a thing because the referees come to the linesman, and I'm not being funny, the linesman, like typical, they don't know what day it is. So he might as well talk to the frigging man on the frigging, in the bloody moon.
I think they were all struggling yesterday.
They were all struggling. So at the end of the day, the bottom line is the goal is given. Rightly or wrongly, but from our point of view, we've now gone 3-1 down, not given ourselves a chance because it's basically from the kickoff of the second half. So we're now 3-1 down, right? Which doesn't help anybody. And then I think the next goal, which took us 4-1 down, they got a corner. We're pushing out from the corner. When you push out, because we've cleared the first phase, and he even mentioned it was even mentioned the other day on TV with the professionals, it's usually not on the first phase, it's always on the second phase off corners where you come unstuck. And this was a second phase situation because we've cleared the ball off the corner on the first instance and we're pushing out. Everybody, the golden rule is you push out with your man. You don't push out just willy-nilly and leave men in. Yeah. You push out with your man. Naively, somebody has not pushed out with his man because there's a man free in there, stood there, free.
Yeah.
If you remember, he was free. There's nobody with him. Now we've got a question, and this is probably when we break it down, and Ryan Russell will get the footage, and we break it down. I'm guessing, and I might be wrong, one of the players that's back on corners, that's picking up on corners, right, is probably a midfield player, right, or even a striker that's obviously, because we're breaking or coming out, I'll get out quick, and he's left his man. That's what I think. I think that's happened. Naively, not thinking and not realizing, not coming out with his man, because until the golden rule is, and I was telling people back in the day all the time, do not leave your man until the ball is fully cleared. It wasn't fully cleared. We're pushing out. Most players were probably with their men. This player wasn't not with his man. He was free. And what happened were the ball, they've picked the ball up, and I think they hit the ball and it ricocheted off Wager. And it dropped kindly straight to that player who's not got a man.
Yeah.
And he's finished it. That's the best way I could describe it. Right? So again, that's an individual, whoever that individual is, and it'll come out in the wash when it's all broken down, when we see it. Whoever that individual is, as it's cost us, because if they come out with the man until the ball's fully cleared, at least that player's being contested with that ball. But when it ricocheted off Wager and ended up at him, he's just got to finish it, and he finished it. So there we go. So at 4-1. So then we get back in it because we've made a couple of substitutions. We've put Callum on and we've put Gervin on, right? So we've made these substitutions and we've got a free kick, right? It was quite positive at this stage at 4-1, right? We've got a free kick. Cal Sidall takes the free kick.
Nice strike.
Good free kick. Great strike. Keeper can't save it. Credit to Gervin. He's followed the ball in. That's somebody with a bit of intelligence. Not gawping, not thinking. He's followed it in and tapped it in and put it in. So credit to him, right? And credit to Cal because of the execution. So at this point, we're now back in it and it's 4-1, right? Things can change. But we've got on the bench, at this point, even though it's 4-1, in retrospect, you think the game's gone really. But we've got on the bench, if you look at it, you've got like Ollie Hodgson, you've got Ollie Hodgson that can score a goal, that can score goals, right? You've got on the bench, you've got Conor Morris, if the chance arises, can execute goals. He can score goals, right? You've even got Bradley Hancock, right, that can score a goal with one of his left foot if he's higher up the pitch. We've seen it, right? Now, what I don't agree with, we could have took our left back off, kept the same shape, and put Brad at left back. But what's the point? We're losing the game 4-1. We need more bodies higher up the pitch. Yeah. So that's a nonsense substitution for me, because you're not gaining anything. We need to gain momentum. We've already lost.
We've got to get more bodies forward.
Correct. We're already losing the game 4-1. So at this point, it's like you're gambling. So we're not going to just pull a fullback off and you go on and go to fullback, because he's not going to change anything. Only thing he might change is he might do them runs I said that weren't happening, trying to go forward in a wide position. He might do that, but on the other hand, he might not, because I watched him at Bury and he wasn't doing it at Bury on the Monday. So he might not have done. But the thing is, if he's higher up the pitch and playing in that little pocket behind the strikers, his chances are he's going to be a threat if we get a chance, because all we needed at this point is another goal. If we could have got the second one, they'd have been twitchy bums and they'd have been out the game, because we'd have got more, because our momentum were taking us. So obviously, the only way we could have done it at this point is change the shape. So we have to take a gamble, right? It's no good again. The simple fact is, what's the point in taking your centre forward off, right, to replace him with another centre forward when you're losing the game 4-1? Again, it's a negative sub, right? You need more finishers on the pitch than anything. You don't want to take 1 for 1. We're losing the game, so you've got to gamble. So we gambled. It's a gamble. We're losing the game. If we walked off at 4-1, we walk off, but at least we give it a go. So at 4-1, we gave it a go. We got Conor Morris on alongside Toby. Right? So Toby's now got somebody to he's got another striker. They've got something else to think about. We've then got took Brady up, and we've got Brad playing in that little pocket behind him. So now all of a sudden at the top end of the pitch, we've got more threat. We've got more people on the pitch that if the chance comes to them, they will score. That's what we went for. But it's a gamble. It's always a gamble, because you've gone 3 at the back. We've taken a defender off to put another attacker on, right? It's a gamble. And it happened to us. They were lucky at this point, because what happened if I remember rightly, there was a 50-50 ball with Callum Hewitt. And Callum Hewitt ended up getting hit with the ball in his short and curlers, his goalies, right? You follow me? Yeah. And if you remember, he's out the game. He's on the halfway line, rolled over, out the game. The game broke. It broke for him. Obviously, we've just piled pressure in their box, so they're breaking on us now. We've always said what Blackpool are about. They play with no fear. So they were running, numbers were freaking pushing like mad to get in them areas. Yeah. Callum is out. We've lost a man. He's still rolling around on the floor, right? And what's happening is they've got in. It's fell lucky for them, and then they've clinically finished it. Oh, it was a great finish.
That was the goal of the game for me.
It was a great finish, but people have got to look how it's all come. So we've got caught when we're putting them under bits of pressure to try and get back in the game, because Callum's got. If that had hit Callum anywhere else, Callum had still been in the game. But it's City's goalie. You know it yourself. If I come and punch you in goalies now, you're out the game. You're on the floor.
Yeah.
So they broke on us. They've executed a good finish, right? So we're now 5-2. We're now 5-2. 5-2. So at this point, and then again we're pushing forward. So the last 2 goals, we've got beat cheaply in the corner. If I remember it, it were down our side near the corner flag. The lads finished it. The lads done one of our players quite easily, right? Too easily, really. But there still were a lot to do for them, and they finished it. So basically, I broke the game down the best I can. In all fairness, when I've walked off that pitch, did I think that we, as a group, when we came off the game at Daisy Hill, it was a complete shit show? And I even told them in the changing room and everything else. I couldn't say it was a shit show yesterday. Goal-wise, I've just got to applaud, because another game that Blackpool will play, they will not execute the finishers as clinical as they did. They did on the day, and I've got to give them credit for that. I've got to give them credit for the work rate. I've got to give them credit the way that they just played with no fear, and what they did. And I've got to give them credit for obviously getting the 3 points. They fully deserved the 3 points. They were better than us on the day, but all round better than us because of what I've just gone through. But did we really play badly? No, we didn't. Could we have done more within our strengths of what we are about? Yes, we could. And I think I brought that down when I talk about getting the ball out quicker from the back and playing from the back, so we've got possession straight away, not kicking it up the pitch where we've got a fighting ball. I've talked about it where our fullbacks will be going beyond the wide players, so that the wide players, like your inside forwards, not your wide players, we don't play with wide players. The inside forwards play. I've got an option to play out to, right? We didn't do that enough, right? And basically in midfield, did we play in our comfort zone, or did we try to do what Blackpool did and play with no fear and attack areas that would hurt the opposition? No, we didn't.
No. Pretty good summary there, Brent. Broke it down really well. And I think, totally agree with that. The way Blackpool applied themselves, the fact that we didn't get the ball out from the back and, play to our strengths, there's every reason why we ended up on wrong end. But moving on to Tuesday, could you say it's a big game? And it is a big game. Quarterfinals, Lancashire Challenge Trophy. We know what it's like. We had a good run out last season away at Southport. That first 45 minutes, probably one of our best performances I've seen since I've been at Bay Cup in that first 45. And hopefully on Tuesday, we can see that again against John Owen Burnham's team in Radcliffe.
Well, let me just say this, right? And the lads need to understand this straight away. This is a massive, massive game, right? There's been no build-up to it yet because of all the bitterness of the season.
Yeah.
But it's really, really important for both teams. Both teams. We are massively the underdogs because, look, I don't know what sort of a team that John will send up here, but I've got to look at myself is if I was in John Hall's position as a manager and I'm managing a team in the Conference North like he's managing a team in the Conference North, and we're sitting fourth in the table of the Conference North, fourth from bottom, by the way, fourth from the bottom, right? And this is a quarter final of a senior cup competition. I am sending my strongest side to that, and all the priority will be to stay in the league, the division that they're in. But I am sending my strongest side up there.
Well, your supporters are going to expect it.
Well, it's all about winning trophies. I keep saying this. I said it when I were having goals at Uxton and people like that in the past where they cheer and they go mad and they're on about this. Listen, all we're playing for, any team in any league are playing for, when it comes to the end of the season and the league that they're competing in, place on their honours list the team's names that are on that honours list, whether that be cups, whether that be the league. That is what teams are playing for. And if you look back over years and see if that team, your team or whoever's team, are on that honours list, no matter what they've done in a season, they ain't done what they set out to achieve at the start of the season because they're not on the honours list. All the blinking, all the cheering and everything else that in the past that Uxton have done when we've played them, and I'm only using Uxton because obviously we've played them a lot of times, and they've done the damage on us a lot of times, right? I'm only saying this about them because they're celebrating and cheering like they're blinking, like they've won the blinking town hall clock, right? My point is, and when I've said it when I've come on this show, that's fine, not a problem. You beat Bay Cup Borough, so what? Happy days that you've got a step further. But what you've got to do before you become a club or a team in its own right, you've got to carry on that and then get to the finals and see if your name becomes in that honours list. And if you look back, there's teams out there that's probably finishing in a higher up the league than Bay Cup Borough, right? But when it comes to end of the season, I might finish higher up than Bay Cup Borough. But when you look back over last year's honours list and the year before's honours list and the years before's honours list, and even if you look in 2016's honours list, and then you go and look in 2012's honours list, and then you go further back than that, 2008's honours list, whose name do you see quite regularly? Bay Cup Borough. But you might not see other teams who's finished higher than us and gloating. No. They're not there. They're not in the honours list because they've underachieved. They haven't got there. So my point, what I'm trying to make is, it's all about, that's what you start to make, is the honours list. Now, we're in a situation, no matter what's gone on the last few weeks, we're one game away, in retrospect, from 2 cup finals. And why I'm saying 2 cup finals is because I would say that the semi-final, given that it's in a stadium that's a creditable stadium where it's a nice surrounds and everything else,
given the merits of a cup final atmosphere.
Correct. You know, the county ground at Leyland, that's what it gives you, and the winner of that will then go into the Reebok. So everything to play for. And equally, not only everything to play for, they've got to play for, you know, this could divide our season in a way, because this is the difference between us finishing the season with basically 0 or finishing the season potentially with a semi-final spot or a final spot.
Yeah.
Right? So it's massive, but it's massive for both clubs. Now, what's got to happen, and this is going to be a slightly different game to the game that we had at Southport, because what you've got to remember, at Southport, we were drawn away on a beautiful surface, right, in their stadium. So the team and Southport, right, so we went with a kind of a finesse kind of a team and played some really good stuff and really asked a lot of questions of Southport in that first 45, 50 minutes, right? Playing Radcliffe is going to be a total different team because, again, I come back a total different game. And the reason why I say it's going to be a totally different game, to start with, Jono and Bernard, I'm telling you, won't relish coming to play in the Brian Boys Westview Stadium for a few reasons. They won't relish because the pitch can be a leveller.
Yeah, they know what it's all about.
They know what it's all about. But equally, on top of that, and this isn't being disrespectful to Jono and Bernard, it's being quite creditable if you like me, their teams over years, and this is why they've had success, their teams over years, they've been kind of marked up as being bullies, and which I take that as a compliment. If somebody said to me, Brent Peters is a bully and his teams are bullies, I'd take that as a compliment, because to me, that's what it epitomises. That's what Blackpool epitomised for me. I could turn around and say they're bullies because they bullied us yesterday.
When
absolutely bullied us.
Really, it's a substitute word for work rate.
Correct. So, Jono's teams, you know what you're going to get. You know you're going to be in a fight on Tuesday, a fight. So my team selection on Tuesday is going to be a total different mindset to what probably I'd normally pick if I were going to play, I don't know, one of our run-of-the-mill teams in the Northwest Counties. I'm going to be going for every player on that pitch that I know will equally fight, like they will fight, because I don't want, and this is being disrespectful, I don't want to be out there with a bunch of players that'll be technically good, but also they can look after themselves, playing against a bunch of players that are technically good, but when it comes to fighting, they're kind of a bit weak.
Yeah.
I want a bunch of players that's going to go with them and go, right, are we ready? Gloves are off. Come on. Let's do it. Right? That is what I want, and that will dictate my team selection. And I'm not going to name players on here, but my big players who served us well in all the previous cup games over the years, that served us well, irrespective of what they've done on Saturday, irrespective of what they've done at Bury on Monday, irrespective of what they've done in previous games over the season, that's gone.
They've got a good chance of making the fucking team.
These players, I know, on a one-off game, will be up for it because they're fighters.
Well,
they'll stick together. They'll fight, and the personal pride, but the fighters. They're not, and this isn't being disrespectful to the faint-hearted players in our team, because they contribute and they're very, very good. But what I'm saying is, I know we're going to be in for a tough night.
Oh, yeah.
And I need players out there that are prepared and mentally tuned in that they're going to be prepared for a tough night, but we're ready for it. And all I will say is, in the past, these players, when it's been against all odds, have delivered.
Yeah.
No more here. Macron Cup final against Congleton. Okay, they went out on penalties. They've never let us down.
No,
and
not
I'm
in
telling you,
not in the big games.
Correct. And look, they can, if they're listening to this show, I'm not giving anything away, but they knew who they are. They knew the big players are, and they know the players who are ready for the fight, and they know the players who will be ready to freaking go toe to toe. The stakes are high, not higher than what.
Well, they're going to go toe to toe with National League players. So personally, you want to put as an individual, you want to put on a good show, don't you? To show them what you're about.
Well, you want to put on a good show, but equally, if people are going to come here and think that we're going to, let me put it another way, that we're going to play expansive, beautiful, absolute great football, one touch, bump, 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 goal, absolutely. You're probably not going to get that. You're going to be on a pitch that the pitch is beautiful today, right? It's been beautiful, even though it's come through all the snow. Right, it'll have hardened up a little bit now because there's been a frost on a couple of nights, so it'll be hardened up. But in the main, when it starts to thaw and whatever, it'll be quite. I mean, I don't know what the forecast is going to be on Monday night. It's going into Tuesday, but they're going to be giving the pit, or they might not be if there's continual frost. It might be, but what you're going to get. The first thing we've got to do, the very first thing we've got to do, which Blackpool did to us yesterday. We've got to roll our sleeves up and we've got to go, right, we're ready now, come on, right? They've got to be in the faces, they've got to be pressing, they've got to be freaking grafting, they've got to be up competing. We've got to pick second balls up. When we get the second balls, we've got to make sure our passing retention is brilliant, right? We get the ball forward. We've got people on that can do the damage in the blinking final third. We finish it, see what they're about, ask questions. They'll be thinking, what's hitting us here? That's what we've got to be like. Now, if they're not going to be like that when they come out, I don't want them in my team. I don't want them in the changing room. But that's what they've got to be like. And if they do that and they're up for it, even if we've got to win ugly, we win. It's at all costs. We've got to do it.
Yeah. You got to play like it's the last game you're ever going to play.
Correct. But we need fighters. We need the lads who's going to stand up and be countered.
And we know. You mentioned it before. We know exactly who them fighters are, and they've got to know exactly. They know exactly who they are because they're the ones who've won 2 Edward Case Cups.
100%. They know. We can all want pretty nicey football, but it's all about winning. This is about winning now. This is about winning, and by all costs, you put your body on the line. You've got to put your body on the line. We're playing a top side. Listen, it's no use looking. I mean, I've looked quickly at the league table this morning. They sit 4th from bottom of the Conference North, but they've got 3 games in hand on Farsley, and 3 games and 4 games on Warrington, right? Who are above them, but there's only 2 points separating them. So the chances are they're in a false position at Radcliffe, right? They're not, in my opinion, they won't go down. They're not going to go down, right? But the one thing about, like I said, listen, Bernard Morley played for me a short time here at Bacup. I know what Bernard's about and everything. Bernard's a good lad. Yeah. Jono's a good lad. They're winners. They want to win. And I know what they'll be getting told in their changing room. And I know they'll be getting their players up for it. They're playing the Brent, but they won't want me or my team to step to overcome them. So I'll tell you what, their players will be tied them if they come here and there's something happens where they get beat and they go out to this competition. We'll be tied them because I know what John and Bernard's about.
They don't want us next Sunday coming on this show with our chests out, gloating.
No, exactly. But I can be on here as passionate as I want to be passionate and thinking fighting talk.
You're not playing though, Brent.
But I'm not playing. They've got to be hungry and want this. And they've got to be prepared right for this. And they've got to come into this game.
But want it for themselves. Want it for the team, but want it for themselves.
And it's a football match. It's 11 v 11, 10 v 10. But you've got to compete. You've got to be ready to compete. You've got to, when it's corners and everything, you've got to put your body on the line. You've got to fight like you mean, like it means it. You've got to play, as daft as it seems, you've got to play like Manchester United did when they went into Highbury Stadium last week, and they were against all odds and 10 men, right? 10 men. But they fought like tigers, fought like terriers, and come out on top. That's what we've got to do, because we're the underdogs.
Last week you mentioned it about Congleton, when we played Congleton, and we had, the experienced player Pope, who ex-Port Vale. We're going to be up against 11 of him, because that's the aggression that they're going to have, that quality of National League players.
Yeah,
they're in your face.
100%. 100%. But have I got faith in the lads I'm going to pick?
Yeah.
100% I have, because they've proved to me before and not let me down. And I don't think they'll let me down on Tuesday. I'm not saying, I'm not here saying that they'll come out on top. I'm not saying that at all, because obviously they're playing against all odds. But I'm telling you now, they will be up for this fight. I'm telling you, irrespective of what's gone, they will be up for this. They've got to be. And if they're not, they'll be dragged. I'm telling you, because listen, it's got to say I'm about winning, and I'm about that honours list. And we're still in there. We're hanging in. And we need to be fully in. We need to be in that honours list come the end of the season. We need to be in there. And the only way we're going to be in there, it's a tall order. We've got to beat the Conference National side, Northern side, right? We've got to beat them. But we're in our own ground, be our own supporters. Atmosphere will be good. And listen, they've got to be ready for it and up for it.
Tuesday night, 8 o'clock, Brian Boyd Stadium, Borough Radcliffe, quarterfinals of the Lancashire Challenge Trophy. See you later, mate.
See you, pal.